Um, Tony, just to get things started with, the boys have done a training session. Health and fitness-wise, do you have all 25 to call upon tomorrow if needed?
Yes, everyone's got through training, so we hope that the same will happen again today, and that everyone makes themselves available for the match.
Do you anticipate making many, if any, changes to the starting 11 from the Canada game?
Possibly, yeah. For a few reasons. It's a different game, short turnaround. We've got some boys here that maybe we'll get a chance to have a look at, and we did that in the first match. And if it's not from the start, players will get a chance to come up.
There's one in particular, Matty Ryan, the skipper. Does he come back in?
We'll see. Matty's fit, and Paul did a great job. So, Matty's our captain, and that won't change. But we'll make a decision after tonight's session.
Already qualified. What every game means something. What are you looking to get out of this game?
Well, for us, we've been accustomed to going through the playoffs, so this is quite rare for us to be automatically qualified with a year to prepare. We're looking always for top opposition, challenges that can make it difficult for us, and we had that against Canada, and we expect the same against the US. So really just playing opposition that are tough, that have quality. Here we're up against a host nation, so we know the quality they have. They've got a wonderful manager. They've got players that are playing at the peak of their powers in the best leagues in the world. So we want to challenge ourselves, and that's why we happily took on these two games. And we'd like to grow further from the Canada match and try and improve and try and take that into another difficult encounter.
It's always a fine line between winning and losing, and slippery slope, but you're on a great roll at the moment. How important is it to sort of keep this roll going?
Well, we want to win every game. It's always easy to say when you don't get the result. The result doesn't matter because it's a friendly. So that's a throwaway line that it's easy to use. But we want to keep our run going. We know it'll be difficult. That's why we've taken on this game, and we appreciate the US giving us this opportunity to test ourselves against them. So they've obviously shown us respect in terms of an opponent, and we have a lot of respect for them, and we want to put on a very good performance and not disappoint them.
In terms of testing yourself, coming into this game, Socceroos always prided themselves on the physical fitness and their preparedness. You've taken that to another level as coach. You're now coming up against one of the fittest teams in the world at altitude. How valuable will this be for you to sort of get a gauge on where your team is physically heading into a World Cup?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, look, we've improved physically since we've come in, so it's been a year that we've been together. The challenge you always have is when you're trying players without continual matches for their clubs. The physical aspect is not quite at its best, and I think that showed a little against Canada. The last 10 minutes of the first half, probably the last 10 minutes of the second. But if you want to give players an opportunity that don't have a lot of minutes, you have to accept that. But we are happy with the continued growth of fitness with the players. That will be tested again, as it was against Canada, and we welcome that test, and we'll learn a bit about the players. And we learned a lot the other night where we know that they were struggling, a lot of them physically, to get through at the level we wanted, but they showed another side of their personality and their character that helped them get through. So if we can match those two together come June next year, then we'll be in a good position.
You touched on this a little bit already, but what are your impressions of the US team?
Yeah, we're impressed with them. We've watched them closely, in particular the last 3 matches that we've seen, and we saw a very good performance against Japan. Obviously a big rival of ours, and they were on a fantastic run in our qualifying. And we saw them play against Ecuador, where I thought both games they played very well. A lot of top individuals, and I think they're gearing up well for the World Cup, and they look like they're in the right direction.
Mauricio Pochettino said a little earlier today that he sort of described your side as a well-oiled machine in a way, like you're familiar with each other, you've played together, you understand the system in the same way, whereas his team, there's still a lot of newness there. Do you think there's that sense of contrast there as you evaluate your opponent tomorrow?
Look, I can't speak for them, so we have to take his word for that. He's their manager, so he knows whether they have the right continuity or not, or what he's looking for. But I'd argue that in terms of us, we are constantly making changes, so we have that challenge every time we're together. And I mentioned after the Canada game, we played a 19-year-old and 21-year-old up front. We had a captain at 22. We made a debut at right wing back. It's his first game for Australia, so I'd like to think that we're in the similar position, if that's what he says. But I'm sure both teams want to build the continuity, but at the same time, trying to increase the depth of your squad, depth of your team, quality of your team, and that can only come from these games and giving players an opportunity. So I think we're both on the same mission in terms of where we want to be come World Cup, and tomorrow gives both teams an opportunity to showcase that.
Hey Tony, I think you said last week at one of the presses that you were keen on this game, playing at altitude in case you end up in Mexico next year. What kind of funky, unusual things have you done to combat the altitude here, and have you learnt anything already that surprised you?
Look, we've got a great staff that have prepared the players in terms of once we arrived, and a few little details and things that we've tried in a short space of time. But we understand we're in altitude, but we're not, I don't want this to be about the altitude in terms of the difficulty of it. Both teams have the challenge of altitude. We're accepting it. We want to deal with it as any game. And the little difficulties that we may have had, we've tried to help them in terms of their preparation off the field, in terms of their breathing. If there are any difficulties, we've tried to support those boys. But from what we're seeing, all the players are ready to go. We've had no issues. Of course, the match is very different to a light session, a recovery session that we've had so far. But all the players are looking forward to it, and it's not a discussion that we've had as a group since we've arrived here.
Touching on that, how important is it for you to be in the host countries ahead of the World Cup?
Yeah, it's wonderful opportunity, and we're grateful obviously to our federation, and obviously the two teams that we've come up against. We're delighted to be here, and we wanted to really showcase ourselves against Canada, a team that had also gone a long time without defeat, had two big wins in Europe before they faced us, and we definitely showed them that we're a good side, and we want to do the same again tomorrow against the US.
And if I could ask, is this trip tied into any scouting of base camps or anything like that?
Yes, it is. We've had a few of our staff here. Unfortunately for them, they've been away a long time from home. So we had a couple here for a few weeks, going around basically all over the country, doing the logistics and really trying to get a step ahead and see where we could be, and try and find the right pre-camp location, the right base camp location, and that's an ongoing process that will continue after this game.
Tony, you'll have to move pretty quickly on that after the draw comes out, because it's probably close to first in, first served with FIFA. But what are some of the things that you're looking for in a base camp? Obviously, there's some in major population centres, others are very isolated. Some are unis, some are sporting team grounds. What are you looking for?
Look, a lot of things. It's a little bit of everything, but you're trying to find a location that there's not too much travel. So regardless of what group you get, that you can travel anywhere around the country within 2 or 3 hours. You're looking for the right conditions in terms of weather. You want the right hotels and areas for the players that can be relaxed, because you will be away for quite a while together. So you really need the right atmosphere, the right location for that. And then you want fantastic training facilities, which I'm sure from what I've been told from our recon so far, that won't be an issue. So you're looking at a bit of everything, and you need to have the idea that you could be in altitude. So hence why we're trying this. And if we do get the the group with altitude, then this may be an area that we can have a base camp. So we're open to everything, but we're trying to be ahead of the game, trying to have our ideas in place so when the draw comes out that we have a clear picture, a clear idea on where we'd like to be.
Knowing the emphasis that you place on training, Tony, obviously Jacob, he impresses in training, he's rewarded with a start. Since you've qualified, have you noticed any changes in the way that the boys are training, given that beforehand, before qualification, it's sort of a collective sense of nervousness, we've got to qualify for a World Cup, but now maybe it's more individualised. As individuals, they're trying to get into the World Cup. Has there been a change in, maybe not a drop in intensity, but a difference in the intensity of the vibe?
Possibly. I think, the World Cup is a very easy motivation for anyone, for an individual that is. But I'd like to think that, judging a player 6 months ago that maybe wasn't in our camps, 6 months later, maybe he's had a great move. Maybe, he's at a club where the training is great and he's playing some really good matches, and it just changes and it evolves. And I've always said I've been open to anyone getting an opportunity for Australia. We're showing that with each camp, and this camp we've got numerous players that are here either for the first time or very few caps under their belt or haven't been involved for a while. And I think that'll continue again in November. And, the more options we have, I'd love to be surprised by more players. They come under this pressure, the expectation. They're playing for their country, which is enough pressure on its own, and they deliver. So we saw a good solid display by Jacob Italiano, which was, fantastic for us as a coaching staff. Paul Izzo stepped up. We want a few more of those players to increase the depth and options come June next year.
Just sorry for the non sequitur, but the season starts on Friday, and I might not get a chance to ask you again. A-League men's season coming up on Friday. I mean, more work for you and your staff, more games to watch, but just what are you looking for this A-League men's season with the World Cup in mind?
Well, you want players to stand out, and you want to see the consistency of those players. And I'm sure there will be many players that will perform. But what we're looking for is, can those players keep backing up those performances week after week to give them a chance to be called up for the World Cup?
Tony, a year ago, the team was struggling to score goals, and results weren't so good when you came in. How's it? What's the key to turning it around? What's different? What's changed?
What's changed? I think it's just a collective. I think it can happen. We had a poor window as a nation in September where we lost a game and had a draw. And, my first game in, we beat China 3-1 after going down 1-0. So the players already showed they have something in that game. They have the confidence, the belief to come back. And then we went to Japan against a side that was undefeated for a long time, someone we hadn't beaten for a long time. We had a 1-1 draw. So I think the confidence just grew from there. And we gave new players an opportunity. That happens with any coach, I'm sure. And the players, the existing players have really stepped up, the senior players. And, we feel we're still growing. We feel we have a lot of improvement to come. And we feel that we're showing signs of that in each international that we play. I'd love to see that against the US. And there's no secret from my part. I think it's just a real collective, and everyone, staff and players, have played a part to have us in this position where we're preparing without the pressure of a qualifier for the World Cup.